Today, we are going to be looking at the 360-degree Insta-Kill auto turret. I'm the Generic Redstone Genius, and let us start by approaching the turret. And I'm dead. Well, that's not all that impressive. Let's just go from the other side. And I'm dead again. Now you might be thinking that you can just have multiple people approach the turret from different angles at the same time. Well, that won't work either. Why? Because of an advanced targeting system built into the turret. As a matter of fact, the entire turret is so complex that it took me several iterations and over 50 hours to design it. I've never asked this before, but since I put a lot of time into this design, I'd really appreciate it if you can like, comment, subscribe, and maybe even share the video. Thanks. We'll use these armor stands to simulate multiple players approaching the turret. So the way this works is that we essentially have a massive sensor grid, and then when it detects a player in a certain quadrant, it will send a signal to the turret, and it will start shooting arrows into that quadrant of the cannon, so that when it fires, it will hit all the quadrants that there's a player in. So I activated a bunch of random quadrants, and you can see all the arrows that are dispensing to those quadrants, and then they'll be launched out in the direction. And in case you're wondering, we're using a tuned skulk sensor on top of a skulk shrieker. So the tuned skulk sensor gives it longer range, and the skulk shrieker makes sure that the noise that activates it is only created by a player. That way a random mob won't activate it. So now you might be wondering, will it cause any problems if two quadrants are activated, but they aren't activated at the exact same time? Well, no, it will not, due to that aforementioned advanced targeting system. So the way it's going to work is that down there is what deals with the arrows. So the second, let's say, this quadrant gets activated, it'll start firing the arrows down there, and it'll send a signal up here. Now what this is going to do at the end of this is going to stop the arrows from firing, and then also launch the TNT, or prime the TNT. So it's going to send a signal, and it's going to come along here, and it's going to make its way along here, along this line of repeaters. But this here is a pulse length sensor, which is going to be blocking this, blocking it off here, so it's not going to allow the signal to go through. But it will unblock it, it will allow the signal to go through right as the signal is about to get there. So like I said, if only one quadrant happens, it will unblock it, and the signal will go through and it'll fire. However, if a second quadrant gets activated, then it'll send another signal through, and it will extend the pulse lengthener. So this means that this part will actually block off the first signal coming along here, and it will delay the firing of the TNT, allowing more arrows to get enough arrows to get into the second quadrant. And then once this stops, it'll allow the second signal to go through. And then when the signal passes, it will of course ignite the TNT, and it will stop the shooting of the arrows. And there'll be a bit more of a delay for the arrows, but I'll continue that process. Now we also have this failsafe over here. Now this is just in case, because we have this repeater line here that gives us about 4 seconds to activate another quadrant. But then the problem lies in the fact of, well, somebody activates a quadrant, then 3 seconds later they activate another quadrant, then 3 seconds later they activate another quadrant, and so on and so forth. Then the turret will never fire, and it'll just keep on launching more arrows, which will eventually cause major lag issues on a server, because the amount of arrows it's shooting will cause a lot of lag. So this failsafe here just makes it so that after this initial 4-second delay, it'll give us another about 4 seconds to continue to activate more quadrants, and then after that, if it's going to keep on activating more quadrants, the failsafe will just make it fire anyways by bypassing the blocking mechanism. So needless to say, this turret is very complicated. I'll show it to you in action in a minute, but I'll just do a very basic explanation to how it works, because honestly it's taken me so long to make this thing that I've honestly forgot what some of the things do. But it's going to start off by going here, and then I have all these safeties just on those ones, these orange blocks here. But I don't have it for this one because that's what I'm going to demonstrate on later. But then what's going to happen is it's going to fire this arrow, and it's going to hit the dispenser. And the reason we have to use it's going to hit the target. We're going to use the dispenser. And the reason we have to have dispensers and targets instead of some other way, like a redstone line, redstone torch, is because you can't have anything in the way, because arrows can fire out in any direction, so you can't have anything blocking it. Then once it gets here, essentially a very, very oversimplified way of telling this is that it's going to send up here. This is going to send the signal 2 directions. The first direction is going to go to the top, and it's going to deal with all that stuff we discussed before. And then the second signal is going to be coming out this way, which is going to essentially activate these arrow launchers. Then it's going to also activate this, which is just a safety. It's going to pull that up. And then pull this piston up, meaning it can't receive another signal, so it can't reactivate that quadrant. And yeah, that's pretty much a very oversimplified way of how it works, is that it's going to be sending the signal up here. It's going to go through all this rechecks. Then I'll power the TNT. I'll ignite the TNT. And what this is just doing is it's going to also power this, which is going to break these circuits over here, which these circuits are powering these pistons, which are firing the dispensers for the arrows. So it's using these basically infinite looping circuits. So this is going to just pull that back. And it's going to pull the top one back first. And it's going to pull the bottom one back, just so the bottom arrows can fire a little bit more arrows, because the top one takes longer to travel downwards. And then it's also going to be using a bunch of circuitry. It's going to basically deactivate the safety once it's ready to fire again. And then we also have a system in here somewhere. Where is it now? Right here. And what this system does is it's also, when it's firing the TNT, it's going to shoot an arrow downwards. And what it's going to do is, right when it's about to fire, it'll do that. It'll essentially block off all these from shooting up arrows. So it's essentially an extra level of safety. And it'll reactivate itself all in sync. All the other safeties come online. Just so that there's an off chance that these arrows can fire upwards. Right as the system's coming back online, the safeties are rearming. Like the safeties are turning off. And if that happens, if it gets caught right at the right time, it could create like half a signal, which could cause some problems. But that's a very oversimplified way of how it works. Like, for example, we also have these here with the arrows for the chest, and we also have more arrows here. And if you want to take a look inside, the arrows travel down here. I'll show you all this more in depth more later, but this is pretty much how it works in a very, very oversimplified way. So now I'm going to show you how it works. So to start off, we're just going to activate it with a bow and arrow. And that's going to activate the insta-wire to go down to here. Now I have those orange safeties on the other, blocking off the other dispensers, but not for the one I'm testing. And then you'll see that fires the dispenser, and it also pushes that orange block out of the way, meaning that it won't be able to activate that quadrant again. Then I'll hit that target, and the reason we have those targets is that we have no wires in front of the turret, because it's 360 degrees. And I'll activate all this wiring here. So on the right, we're going to be able to activate the signal that's going to send the signal to up top, and here on the left, we have the signal that's starting the arrow launcher. Then we climb up here, the signal gets sent to the top, and we have you see on the right side, right bottom, the pulse delayer, the pulse link center, and we have the main redstone repeater line. So you see it passes through no problems because we didn't send a second signal to delay that. And you see the failsafe activating anyways, but the failsafe isn't unnecessary in this case because, yeah. And you see we have that other pulse link center, which is just for circuitry stuff. And you can hear the TNT that just got ignited. And we pulled up that first piston here. And now what this one is doing is it's essentially stopping the top arrows from firing, because the top arrows take a bit longer to get into position than the bottom arrows do, due to just distance. So you can see that since it's pulled away, the bottom one is still activated, but the top one. And you can see it's about to activate, deactivate that one, which is going to stop the bottom arrows from firing. And now you see that's pulled that up, which is going to deactivate the bottom arrows from firing now too. And this signal we're looking at here is essentially going to shoot an arrow down to the bottom, which is going to block any of the quadrant receivers from the bottom from receiving any signals. It's already blocked on top, but it's going to now be blocked on the bottom as well. And it's not like even including the safeties. The safeties are just there for demonstration purposes. Like it will be blocked on the top, and it's blocked on the top, and will be blocked on the bottom. We also have a double piston extender here to push in the TNT into the middle. I'll show you that again later. You can see that I've blocked off multiple parts of the system. And now here we have, in about a second, this arrow firing to the bottom. And that's what that's going to do is push all of those orange blocks over the way, disallowing any of the signals to be sent from the bottom. It's already blocked on top because it's already past the point of adding more arrows, but just to block on the bottom to make sure that none get sent like in the middle of it firing, because that would cause some issues. Like if it sends a signal raise, it's about to rearm or whatnot. It's just good to cut it out completely. And you see it get fired. And you also see that those trapdoors get pulled up. And you're going to see afterwards they're going to push back down. That's by the redstone blocks and another arrow thing. Now they're closing again, and the reason they're just closed is so that arrows can come down and they up and up so that they can fire the TNT. It doesn't block the TNT. And here we have the arrows getting dispensed, and they go down and they make their way into the target. And here we can see how the TNT gets dispensed and it makes its way down and it gets pushed in by the double piston extenders. So now, just so you can see how the multiple quadrant system works, I'll show you this. So you'll see we have two signals coming along. Well, you'll see the first one doesn't go through because the block is down. Then you'll see the block will get pushed up in time for the second signal to be passed through. So now I'll just let you see how it works with no commentary, no nothing. So that's pretty much the video. I hope I did a good job in explaining to you how this turret works. I probably didn't, so if you have any questions, just feel free to ask in the comments and I'll try and get back to you. As for a tutorial or building it yourself, unfortunately I can't do a tutorial on this. It would take way too long for me to make, and the tutorial would be way too long and complex. It would be probably impossible to follow. Also, this design isn't perfectly stable. It is for the most part, but I'd feel horrible if somebody built this and it just happened to malfunction in like a real survival world. So we're gonna hold off on that for now. But if it's popular enough, maybe I'll make a tutorial on it eventually and work on making it more stable. But yeah, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I've been Generic Redstone Genius, and I'll catch you in the next one.